Hey, this is your boy. This video is a response to a short, so I'm not going to do the whole pretending to be someone else gimmick. So I saw this short a while back. It was made by travelingIsrael info or travelingIsrael.com. I advise you go watch that short before you continue watching this video. The link is in the description. But to concise his point, in this short he posits the question of why people are protesting Israel when it comes to Palestine but are not protesting other atrocities in the world like what is happening in Syria or Yemen. He asks if you expect more from Israel than you do from the Arabs. And if so, then you are either a racist or a hypocrite. Now, first of all, I appreciate that he made this video, and I appreciate even more that he ends the video with the question that if you have a better answer, comment below, and that he said he will respond. Now, sir, I do think I have a better answer, and I would love to comment on this point. That's why I will leave a link with this video in the comment of your short. Now, first of all, I do of course think that there are some people in these protests against Israel that do have racist or hypocritical motives. I find these very concerning, but I do think there's still a third option, the so-called better answer to your question. An answer you would most likely not get from the protesters, because it actually compliments Israel. That better answer is because people like you exist. And I mean this in the best way possible. Israel is a democratic society. Israelis like you do have democratic rights. You, by making this short, are exercising that right. So when people are protesting the actions of Israel against the Palestinian people, the Israeli government and Israelis themselves respond to these protests. The Israeli government can be convinced by changing their actions around Gaza and Palestine, because you, an Israeli citizen, can be convinced by these protests and change your stance on the issue, and then demand your government make changes, either by going out and protesting yourself in Israel or by changing your government when election comes. In your video you ask why they don't protest against the atrocities happening in Syria and Yemen. Well, I think this is because there is no democratic response to protests from these institutions. You think the Assad regime or the Houthis care about protests against them? Of course not. They are not democratically accountable, so they just ignore it. It is the same in Sudan, Myanmar, China or Iran. For an example of this, remember when everyone came out in support of Iranian women a while back. What happened after all those protests? Nothing, right? In my mind, the reason for this is very simple. Protests are a democratic way of communicating, but they only really work with another democratic force. Seeing as Iran isn't a democratic society, protests don't work. They don't hold any influence over tyrannical institutions. Most of the time those institutions just ignore them. The reason why they can just ignore them is because the people they rule over don't have any democratic rights or abilities, so they cannot respond or engage with any form of democratic expression. A surprising amount of the people in countries like Yemen, Syria and especially China don't even know there is a democratic outcry. But you, as an Israeli, do have those rights and abilities. I think a reason for why people protest against Israel is because it can work. Whether or not this thought process is consciously held by the protesters themselves is another thing, but the fact is that these protesters do see the Israeli government and Israelis react to these protests, and that is a good thing. I think you will agree that the legitimate critique can be leveled at the way the Israeli government is handling the issue with the Palestinians. And the fact that those critiques can still be leveled at the Israeli government, society and people is something that I think both Israelis, Palestinians and everyone else in the world can be very grateful for, because it means Israel is still a democratic entity. And thank God, Allah or Elohim for that. So, this was your boy. I want to thank travelingIsrael.com for making his short and being so open to a response. I wish nothing but the best for him, the Israeli people and the Palestinian people, and hope this conflict will end as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you later.